Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dorothy here once again with our CCMA series of webinars. Delighted for you to join us today. As always, we're just going to give a couple of minutes for everybody to join. On screen, you'll see Neve from WSI, who continues to support us with these webinars. Dr. Yume Tan, who prefers to be called Dr. May. We were just having this discussion before we went live. Who is hosting and leading this webinar for us this afternoon. And just while we're waiting for everybody, and if you can, as you come in, if you can give me a little thumbs up to let me know everything's okay, that'd be great. But Dr. May is the lead clinical wellness physician with Vhi Healthcare. So she works with an awful lot of companies, helping them develop wellness programs to ensure employee health and welfare across the industry. So today we thought it was a time, I suppose, that we take a little bit of me time. I did a count today, and I think this is our 17th webinar, and I think we probably had 3 or 4 of them on sort of our own selves and self-care and meditation. So I think today is going to be very important in terms of just all of us taking a step back for even just 20 minutes, half an hour, to think about our own physical well-being. But I think also the message then can be shared with your colleagues, with your friends, with your family, and obviously with your team members. So as always, we'll be recording this webinar. It should be available tomorrow, and we'll share that with you. And I know Dr. May is happy to share her slides as well. So anytime you need to access any of our previous webinars, if you just go onto our events page, scroll down past upcoming events, you'll see previous events, and you'll see the link to the webinar and the presentation where appropriate. So I'm just going to say a quick shout out to see who we have. Yeah, we nearly have everybody. Hi, Natasha, I see Ronan, Caroline, Debbie. It's a great crew there today, and Sean as usual. So good to see you all. So Dr. May, if it's okay with you, I'm going to hand over. I'll let you take over. And just to mention, as always, Dr. May is happy to take questions as we go along. So use the box on the right-hand side, put in your question. I'll keep an eye on them, and as they come through, I'll share them with Dr. May. So thank you very much. I'll hand over.
Thank you guys for taking your time off to be with me. So, and thank you, Dorothy. Thank you, Nee, for your support in this. So we're going to talk about well-being and you. Right, so well-being, when it comes to my context, is all about wellness, and people who knows me, I am extremely passionate about this, okay? And I tell you very, very simple why you should be as well, to be passionate about this. So wellness in this sense is not really an easy concept to actually define. So what it is defined as is an active process of becoming aware of and making choices towards your healthy and fulfilling life. So the concept, as I said, is because it's so hard to define, there are always many pillars associated with it, which makes it extremely difficult when it comes to initiating a wellness program and to promote it particularly in our workspace. Now, if you research this in the internet, wellness of the, you will find significant results showing that there are certain institutions highlight that wellness encompasses, at least about 4 pillars. That will be usually your nutrition, your sleep, your what you call emotional, and even there's some extend this to 8 pillars. So, and when you dive in slightly deeper into all these, you will find that there are overlaps between all these. So physical, your nutritional, emotional, environmental, social, financial pillars. Okay, right. So why is it important for your well-being? But because of this is so much that we all work in an organization perspective, this is why it is extremely important. So as for individual, as you can see, so wellness, literally being well, it will actually help you reduce your stress, your anxiety level. It will battle every single chronic illnesses and obviously depression. It will make you see a bigger picture. It will improve your relationships, improve your energy levels, resilience, and obviously your productivity. When you bring this back into your own organization perspective, it improves morale between your co-workers and yourself, better teamwork, social networking improve, increase your productivity, and obviously reduce absenteeism, higher job satisfaction, and then stronger engagement. Now, as we know that this coming 1st of May will be your healthy workplace at work. So these are the encompassed of pillars also in a different element of it, that where it is so important for your organization and your employers to promote it. So obviously for me is mainly on the medical aspect of things, of your healthy, your physical activity, your tobacco, smoking, mental well-being, mental health, alcohol abuse and misuse, etc. Okay, so what we're going to do now today, we're only going to talk about exercise, so your physical wellness. So what is the definition of exercise? So it's an activity requiring physical effort carried out to sustain or improve health and fitness of that particular individual. Now, the WHO, your World Health Organization, in order for it to be benefit towards your well-being, you have to have all these elements. So I'm going to go through it. If you're adults age 18 to 64, we should do at least 150 minutes of moderate intensive aerobic physical activity throughout the week, or at least 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic physical activity throughout the whole week. I will go into detail what is the difference between moderate and vigorous later on. So obviously, also you can combine the two together. You can also make sure that your aerobic activity should be performed in bouts of 10 minutes of duration in one set in order to get that benefit of that exercise. Okay, so on top of that, you also need to do muscle strengthening activities, and that should be done involving major muscle groups on 2 or more days a week. I will also give you some of the examples how you can do so later on throughout the whole slides. Okay, right. So those are the definitions. Now we're going to talk about benefits. My God, the list is actually, you know, not ending at all. It's huge. So you have, like, for example, all I listed there, there's manage stress, you reduce your anxiety, it helps you to lose or you maintain your weight. It also improve your immune system. It reduce risk of heart disease, so your cancer, your diabetes, high blood pressure. It also muscle strengthening and also on bones on the same time. It improves your physical appearance, extremely important, and it protects against development of Alzheimer's disease. Okay, it makes your brain happier. It regulates your cholesterol level, and because it improves your physical appearance, it improves your self-esteem. Also, what you need to know is that when you exercise, okay, the whole lot of those will be caused by a hormone called endorphins. What endorphin does is actually improve your positivity, okay, and it stimulates your brain and makes you happy. And now you know why you actually manage stress, reduce anxiety, enhance is the best treatment for depression. Okay, all those elements, those there, it improves your overall quality of life. Now, because as I mentioned to you, is a long-lasting, non-ending list. You can actually look it up in my LinkedIn, because that is an element of it. I mentioned that, you know, why there's so many reasons we need to exercise there. And I mentioned in the context of running, because I'm actually a runner. So you will see it. But once you do all these aerobic physical exercises, you will see all the benefits that's actually listed there. Okay. Okay. So early on, I mentioned about moderate and vigorous. So remember WHO definitions, in order to have those benefits, you need 150 minutes, okay? And that is within the whole week. So I usually make it easier for people to remember. I say 30 by 5. So 30 in a sense of 30 minutes a day, minimum 5 days a week, okay? For that is for moderate. For the vigorous point of view is 75 minutes, okay, in a week. Right, you can break this as you wanted to do. Now make sure that when you actually started doing any forms of exercise, you have to make sure that, you know, you do it slowly. So if you previously never run before, obviously you're going to gently fast walk or brisk walking, and then do slight jogging and then run. You cannot jump in from people who never run before and suddenly you go running. As you know yourself, as an infant or a toddler, we all learn how to bump shuffle, crawl, okay, and then obviously stand, and then we walk, and then we run. So when you're doing any physical activity, you need to make sure that you're doing it in the right proper way so you don't injure yourself. So moderate versus vigorous, very simple. When you exercise, you have to have 3 elements, okay? Without these 3 elements, it is not exercise at all. So the first element, without any surprise to you, is your heart rate. So for moderate point of view, it actually slowly accelerates your heart rate, okay? And for vigorous point of view, you will know that the substantial increase in your heart rate. The second element is actually your breath, your breathing. So for moderate, you're slightly out of breath. And obviously for vigorous, you cannot complete a sentence. It's quite difficult for you actually to talk, okay? That is for vigorous. The third element that you have to have in order to be counted as exercise is obviously perspiration, so sweating. Moderate, you sweat a little. Vigorous, obviously you need change of clothes, okay? So there are examples at the screen that shows you what are moderate physical activity, what are vigorous physical activity. So moderate, you have your brisk walking, your gentle dancing, your gardening, your housework, and obviously your normal domestic chores, which we do plenty of it because that we're actually during this COVID crisis. Okay, vigorous point of view, you'll be your running, your fast swimming, fast cycling, competitive sports like football, rugby, camogie, hurling, etc. Now you have to bear in mind that between the intensity for moderate and vigorous, they are all different between us. Okay, so that's what it is in that sense of moderate versus vigorous. Right. So as you know, during physical activities during COVID-19, we obviously change, our pattern, our routine, and it's quite difficult because that, for most runners, they don't run like 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer. Majority of runners will do either 5K, 10K, or even half of the marathon in that sense. Okay, so it's long distance running. All these have to change now because of your 2 kilometer rules that you have to follow, and sincerely. And even though I, as a runner, because I respect a lot of social distancing and the 2 kilometer rule, I actually don't run in a sense. However, I changed my routine into doing Zumba classes. It's actually fun, and it combines your aerobic physical activities with also muscular strengthening, which I'm going to give a few of those what you can do at home. Okay, bear in mind that you have to, before you do an exercise, wash your hands thoroughly. You can see a lot of whether YouTube videos how you properly hand wash. Okay, so they say that it has to last more than 20 seconds. If it's not a proper hand washing at all. And you can get those videos, in YouTube and see how you properly wash your hands. Okay, so wash before and wash after you exercise. Right, then social distancing. Now I know for the fact that it's quite difficult to be running and then with your friends anymore because it's not allowed, and obviously unless you're running together with your partners or your housemates, etc. So make sure you're still practicing social distancing when you go out, same as cycling, etc. All right, then the next thing is that you also need to know that because of hay fever season is coming in, there's a lot of pollen count increases, so people sneeze a lot. So make sure you practice your cough with your sneeze etiquette. So sneeze into your elbow, okay, and if you have a piece of tissue paper, etc., sneeze into it, properly discard the tissue, and then after that, make sure you wash your hands. All right, right. So I'm going to go into a little bit on what you can do for muscle strengthening conditions as what recommended by WHO. You need 2 or more work of those. Okay, so for example, plank, you can do in a sense of 20 seconds by 4 sets at home. It's very simple leg squat. Okay, single of the leg squat, you can do 10 reps, and by 3 sets you can do lateral leg rise. Okay, so there's 20 reps by 2 sets. You can also do single leg lunges. Okay, and that is like 30 seconds of the 2 sets, and all these actually concentrate on your main core body. Okay, and that will help you improve. And the whole reason of doing the muscular strengthening is because that it actually lessen your injury when you do aerobic physical activities. Okay, so the other thing that people can do and be upfront, try is, for example, Tai Chi. Now, Harvard Medical School published this publication in 2019. They called Tai Chi known as meditation in motion. And what Tai Chi is actually a gentle physical exercise, stretching with mindfulness. So you can have your body and mind blended into an exercise form altogether. And what it means is actually moving your energy within your different parts of your body and control how you move the energy. Try it. You can get Tai Chi videos up in YouTube. Okay, and for me, as I say to you, because of as a medical doctor, I embrace a lot of social distancing and the 2 kilometer rule. I seldom run, but I do a lot of Zumba classes at home. And the Zumba classes I get involved with is purely aerobic activities followed by muscle and strengthening and stretching at the end of that Zumba classes. Okay, so there are also other activities that you can do. For example, your HIIT training. So that is a high intensity training bouts. Okay, so smaller sprinting at home, running very, very fast. You can do that actually within your own house. Okay, and then you can do a circuit training followed by, for example, squats, jumping on the rope. Okay, sit-ups, push-ups, etc. And obviously other of your physical aerobic activities, which wasn't mentioned early on, will be the brisk walking. Your hiking will be one of them. Obviously, if you live around the area like Wicklow Mountain, you probably can go hiking if it's within that 2 kilometer. And then obviously your squats, your lunges, your push-ups, all those can be done at home. Okay, right. Because that, as a matter of fact, that this is the first part of the 3-part webinar series, we're going to send you out a poll of what kind of topics that you're interested. So for you have a topic of 3, there's a nutrition element of wellness that can come into it. There's also the emotional, and then next one will be the sleep. So I probably want you guys to have a look and see that what rather gives you something that you look for, rather than me giving you something that you're not really interested. So the poll, Neve has kindly launched a poll there. Now it's all open. So if you don't mind, you can just tell me that what you'd like to see the next webinar, the topics of the webinar would be. So that will be in 2 weeks' time.
Dr. May, just while we're waiting for that, a couple of questions. Is there a particular time of the day that you think people should exercise at? Is a particular time of the day better than others, or what would be your advice on that?
To be honest with you, there isn't. What I must say that, usually exercise it on the time that suits you. Okay, now obviously that we're at home much more often now, so you do have like a certain time that you can put away, and then you can exercise. There isn't any, and once you do that 30 minutes a day, minimum 5 days a week, it's fine. Of any time is suitable. Now bear in mind as well, if you exercise late during the night, because your body is full of endorphins, that will make you slightly, kind of like prolong you of going to sleep. Okay, because there's so bouts of energy and adrenaline been launching out. So obviously calming down during the night would be quite difficult. But if you're doing exercise at 8 o'clock and your bedtime is at 10:30, 11 o'clock, that shouldn't be a problem.
And Ronan has asked, any ideas to get the whole family exercising?
Oh, Ronan, that's what Zumba classes are for, the dancing. Kids particularly hates when you do certain things, they don't like it because it's boring, right? So when you have like dancing classes together with it, the whole family can do. So I've been doing Zumba with my 2 children at home, and I can tell you the giggle out of it is amazing.
And are they something that you can access online, Dr. May? Are they something that are pretty freely available? Okay.
I use the YouTube now. Bear in mind that because I never do Zumba as a class before, the first 2 sessions is a little bit tricky. So remember, I say to you, you have to be careful. You have to be careful in the sense of, because that you sometimes it's quite difficult when you're exercising at home to know what you've done wrong or what you've done right, because there's no other people to critique what you've done correctly. So for example, if you're doing Zumba at live in a studio, your Zumba teacher will tell you that you're moving it wrong, and that area will be, or that particular move that actually can causes you to injure yourself, etc. So I would gently say to you, don't push yourself too hard in the first 2 sessions, and you stick with the same video, because that you keep on changing, you're going to find it difficulty to catch up. And when you find it difficulty to catch up, you're bound to have an injury. You're about to make mistakes. You're bound to have injury. So the first 2 sessions, I usually watch it through, do a gentle movement, not the full movement, follow as much as I can. Okay, and then by the 3rd or the 4th coming in, then you kind of know that what kind of movement is coming up next. Okay, so that's my advice to you. Just take it slow, and please don't get frustrated, because once you get frustrated, you're less likely to follow up that particular routine. So take your time.
And if I could just add, Ronan, I know in this house for the smaller one, we have done the Joe Wicks online video that he has obviously every morning. And if it doesn't suit us in terms of school classes and stuff like that, we just go back in and do it with the recording later in the day. But that's on YouTube as well. Not sure for teenagers though, Dr. May. That's my only challenge. I have 2 teenagers in this house, and not a chance of getting them to do any sort of Zumba or Joe Wicks, unfortunately. The other thing I was going to ask, because obviously for a lot of people on the webinar, a lot of companies have their own in-house gyms, so colleagues would have trained together previous to this, or there might be sort of team efforts. Is there anything you can suggest for managers who are trying to lead their team, what they should be encouraging them to do in terms of physical well-being? I mean, obviously to what you're saying in terms of making sure to exercise, but is there anything as a team that they might be able to do together, through Zoom or something?
Yeah, you know that you can actually even exercise when you're sitting down. So you probably couldn't see this, Dorothy. When I'm sitting down, I do my full pelvic floor exercise. That is also an exercise. So you're squeezing your pelvic floor, you're also squeezing the muscles around it. And the other thing that you can even do Zoom is very simple, is that you don't really need to do it as a group of like a high intensity, or what certain people are not comfortable, especially when you're with your colleague, you're doing exercise together. But even like, when you're sitting down, forget about just the pelvic floor, you can do a lot of stretching. Like just gently stretch your arms and then count it to about 20, and lift up your arm in a gentle pushing it backwards. So there's a lot of things that you can do, as a team member, even though when you're actually on a conference call. So your gentle movement, relaxation. You have mindfulness classes on your recordings on your webinars and see previously, those can be done as a team as well. So there are a lot of stuff, doesn't need to make you move in that sense, that to have it. So I mentioned plank, for example. Plank is not an easy task to do, and I have a challenge for all of you here. If you could do and beat my record of 6-minute plank without stopping, right, I'll buy you a cup of coffee after this COVID-19 situation is over.
We'll hold you to that. So we'll have to video it though. Somebody will have to video to prove they did it. So we'll put that restriction around it.
You can block off your face there, but once you have the record time, so it's 6 minutes that you can beat me doing plank without stopping for 6 minutes, right? I promise you, I'll buy you a cup of coffee or something, anything that you like, or even tea, a cup of tea, after the COVID-19 crisis is over.
And one further question then, in terms of combining different types of exercises, what would be your advice on that? I mean, I know you've talked about fast walking, running, and then obviously doing exercises. Should it be alternate days, or doing the same, doing both in the one day?
Yeah, so as I said to you, if you're doing Zumba, you have to do the same video, right? So what I'm mentioning is that I like to combine. Now, since that our routine is disrupted, I'm going to disrupt it more. So I do a little bit of I walk my dogs in a different way. So that's different. I do a lot of running up and down the stairs. So that's another form of exercise you can do. Previously, you don't really do that much very often at home anyway. The other thing is that, if you have gym equipment at home, you can still do your gym stuff at home. The combination is extremely important. It's not like, you have, when you come into exercise, there are also, as you know, there's aerobic versus anaerobic. So what is different? Aerobic means is using oxygen. Anaerobic means is that deprive your body out of oxygen. So you don't use the oxygen then when you're doing the exercise. That usually is a high intensity training. Okay, difference are actually both of them give you the same benefit like what WHO will promote. Okay, however, one will burn more calories and fat, which is the high intensity one. But bear in mind that if you're not used to high intensity, don't do it on your first go, because that high intensity is pushing yourself to the limit. And if you have any medical conditions, you need to make sure that you're able to do so before you do the high intensity one. So I do that running up and down for good, gentle sprints of about 30 seconds, and then I stop. I do very high running on the spot, for a good 5 minutes, and then I stop. So that is a high intensity. You push yourself to the max, right? So that is another form that you can do actually at home as well. I heard somebody through the grapevine was mentioning that a guy ran a marathon around his balcony, so there's so much things to do. Your imagination is never ended, not because you're at home that you can stop you from exercising. There's so many things you can do: sit-ups, push-ups. That's good for toning. That's muscular strengthening, by the way. It's part of the core training that you do. Okay, your crisscrossing, your lunges, your squats. Those are extremely, your burpees. So there's a lot of things that you can do as about. So even though without the gym, even though if I go to the gym, I go to the gym once a week previously for muscular and conditioning. Now because of the COVID-19, I can't go to the gym anymore. So I do that at home, obviously without the weight. Okay, you can also do, for example, I call it air boxing instead of kickboxing, because now you're boxing into the air. So I do a lot of air boxing together with movements on the lower part of the body as well, Dorothy.
Okay, great. I think they're great tips there. Do you want to show us the results of the poll, Niamh, if that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share that now.
Okay, that's interesting. Nutritional well-being is the top one. Can you see it there, Dr. May?
Oh, 1 second. I'm just gonna see whether how do I bring this back.
I can call it out to you if you like.
Yeah. Would you mind?
Yeah,
Thanks
so
a
it's
million.
nutritional well-being by far the highest, 63%, followed by emotional well-being at 25% and sleep well-being at 13%. So I think that helps us make our decision for the next webinar, which will be this day 2 weeks, which hopefully you can then talk about nutritional well-being.
Yeah, perfect. Excellent. So I got more on that nutritional side and we can share around. It's so important, and bear in mind that the well-being doesn't end, that they're all overlapping with each other. So it's extremely important for you to make sure that, a lot of people say that, okay, I do the physical part, don't worry about the food. It doesn't. It actually all encompasses into what is a holistic approach of your well-being. So it's extremely important that if you know exactly what you eat and it's good for your body, and you never go wrong.
And just before we close out, because I'm conscious of time, any advice and tips on sleep well-being? Because I know a lot of people, even just listening to different programs on radio stations, they're saying, they're going through fits and starts of, very bad sleeping pattern, with, I suppose, worry and stress and things like that.
Yeah, and it's very important. You just call out that, Dorothy, things that make you not sleep is your worrying self. So you probably need to list out and solve it. So a lot of us like to take shortcuts in a way where, we think that, okay, we do something, but bear in mind that if something, the root of the cause for you not sleeping, you have to actually solve that first. And everything other that is how you calm down during the night. And what I mean by that is that a lot of us, obviously, now we're Netflixing. Netflix probably the only shares that have actually gone up, and obviously the viewers have gone up as well. So same as you're exposing to your environment, your sleep, and now we're becoming, the summer is coming, so a lot of light. So I would have an issue in the sense of where if I don't have the blackout blind, I will actually wake up about 5 o'clock in the morning because that summer is coming. So there are all a lot of the things that you can do. Exercise actually help you to sleep, by the way. Okay, because it helps you relax your mind, and it stimulates, even though it stimulates your mind to start off with, but it actually also helps you to sleep. So if you eat well, you exercise well, you also will sleep well.
Brilliant, perfect. Well, thank you so much. I'm conscious we're just coming up to 2:30. I don't think there's any further questions. Thank you so much, Dr. May. Obviously, we'll be back this day 2 weeks on nutritional well-being, and we'll put up the details of that in the coming few days. And just thank you to everybody for your participation. Thanks as always to Neve, and the recording of the webinar will be available, as I said earlier, hopefully tomorrow. And then our next webinar is on Friday. It's our Ask the Experts series, and it will be Roger and Daniela from BoxPro who'll be sharing insights from an outsourcing BPO perspective on delivering customer experience during the COVID crisis. So thanks, Dr. May. Great to see you as always, and thanks, Neve. And we will talk again in a couple of weeks.
Okay, guys, stay safe, be well.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.